I learned was really, really important is starting really with customer requirements and doing just a ton of market research right off the bat. I think a lot of companies they come up with some cool technology, or they have an idea that they think like, oh, I think that people like me would want to use this, or I think that this group of people would want to use this. And I mean, that's sort of how you have to start out, but really, really spend the time to test that. And when we first started the company, we spent probably like 6 to 9 months of only doing market research and talking to customers and doing user interviews and building non-functional prototypes and testing those with people before we ever really got into the engineering aspect of it. And after we did that, we actually have made barely any changes at all, like barely any pivots to the core product that we're releasing. And I think that's because we spent so much time up front. And in the very early days, when you might just be a couple co-founders, or maybe a couple co-founders and a couple employees, you're spending so much less money than you will down the line. And so it's really valuable to spend that time up front and really do that research and make sure that you're really, really understanding what you need to build, and then go start building it. That I found really valuable for us was building a PRD, which is a product requirements document. And that for hardware is essentially like, that is the Bible of your product, of what you're building. And even now, 2 years after we've built this PRD, every single milestone that we hit, every time we have a new prototype, every time we hit a new manufacturing build, we run through our whole PRD and say, did we meet this feature? Did we meet this one? And any feature that we didn't meet, that's at that point you have the ability to be flexible, right? You can say, all right, is this something that we really need in the product, or is this something that we have to keep it around on the product before we release it? So it's really important to do that work up front so that you know what you're building, and also it gives you alignment across the whole team. You would be shocked at how difficult communication and like alignment can be, even when you're only a team of like 3 or 4 people. You might have completely different ideas about what you're building. So building this document, getting full alignment on it, I think that has been something that's really helped us out, making sure that we're all working on the same thing and really have all that just knowledge of what we want to build in one place. So you want to build that plan, you want to build your financial model and your Gantt chart, but then always just be willing to be flexible. And for us, when we built this big plan out, and it was a 1.5 year projection, and we would miss a milestone, or something would change, or something that we didn't know about would have to be built in. And initially we took those as very negative things, and we like really took it really hard on ourselves and like beat ourselves up. And it just, I think both for our personal morale and also for the company morale, it just wasn't the best approach to it, because with hardware, with a startup, you have to be flexible. You're always going to learn new things. Things will always go wrong. Like people say build in like 20% buffer to a schedule, but even that isn't, like that helps, but it's still not accurate, because it's not everything is going to take 20% too long. It's one thing will take 5 times longer than what you expected, and that's going to completely just blow your schedule. And so you have to be willing to take those things as not a negative, not something that like you didn't plan well enough for, or you didn't execute well enough on. It just is, and it's something that you have to deal with, and then you have to move on. Don't be stealth. I know a few companies that do. I just think it's generally dumb to go in stealth mode for a couple reasons. So one is, as a startup, you don't have a lot of people that know about you. You don't have a big network. You don't have somewhere that you can just blast out your product. And so you want as many people knowing about you as early as possible. So even at the point when we did our pre-orders, when we started our pre-sale, we already had an email list of 20,000 people because we had started advertising that really early on. And that really helped our pre-sales go well. So I mean, pretty much from day one when we built our website, one of the first things that we put was an email sign up on the front page, like very near the top. It was like our main call to action. And so anytime we got press, like with our fundraising announcement, like anything, any reason why people would come to the page, we tried to get them to sign up. Then eventually we started doing a little bit of advertising also. So partially just to test like advertising messages, marketing, conversions, and so we found actually Facebook worked by far the best for us. So most of that was through Facebook, and so that also built our email list a little bit. But the majority of it was organic. It was just people coming through our site, and so we were able to build this massive list of people that already knew about us, and that helped propel us. Early on, I think one of the other things that we did that just proved really valuable was testing a lot of these marketing messages and just testing what converted well with people. So one of the things that we actually did was we put up essentially fake landing pages that people could buy the product on well before it was ready to sell. And so with that, we were able to test what messages worked well with people. We tested price points. We were able to test out all sorts of things, and then actually had a buy now button. So then we could see, depending on who we marketed to on Facebook, who we were targeting advertisements to, what our conversions were like, depending on how we changed the price point, depending on what type of messaging we used. I've hired essentially my replacement probably 4 or 5 times. And every time it's because my responsibility and my role and what I'm doing has grown so much that I'm not able to handle all of it. And so like initially I was doing all our design work. I was the main mechanical engineer on the product. And then I knew that my experience wasn't just, I just didn't have enough experience, and I didn't have enough time, I didn't have enough bandwidth to be that engineer. And so we hired a mechanical engineer. We've now since hired 2 more mechanical engineers, and they're all working on the product. I was also responsible for project management, and we've now hired someone who does that. And it's just really important to be able to just put ego aside and be able to hand over that responsibility, because if you try to hang on to too many things, it's just not going to be executed well. And I think one of the worst things you can do is try to do too many things, because none of them will be done well. It's really important just to pick off the most important things, and also to think about, like, if you're a founder, what can you do as a founder that nobody else in the company can do? Or you as an executive, what can you do? What is your experience that no one else can do? Or you as an engineer, what can you do that nobody else can do as well as you? And really focus on those things and identify when you realize that you're lagging, or you need support, or you need help. Because it's difficult to do. It's sort of, initially I thought about it as like sort of admitting defeat, but it's not that. It is really building up your company and helping you be more successful. When you're fundraising, go all in, 100%, and make that your number one job full time. For instance, when we were raising our seed round, we had between 2 and 5 pitch meetings every single day for a month. And our entire team, so Shreen and I, we were in meetings or driving back and forth to Menlo Park every single day. Our engineering team was resetting prototypes. They were fixing errors that came up. They were building new prototypes. And so it really became a full team effort for that month, 2 months that it took to raise the round. And I think that was really the best way and the most successful way that we could have done it.